If you grew up in Britain during the 1950s, 60s, or 70s, you'll know that parents back then ran the house like a tight ship. There was no such thing as negotiation, no long explanations, just because I said so. Looking back, many of the things they forbade us from doing were completely harmless, but at the time, they felt like sacred laws. So today, we're counting down 10 innocent things British parents strictly forbade, and why we actually miss those simpler, stricter times. Number 10. Sitting on the radiator. Every British kid knew the rule: never sit on the radiator. It didn't matter if it was snowing outside and you were shivering. If you so much as perched on that warm metal, Mum would appear from nowhere shouting, "Get off there before you burst your veins." There seemed to be a national fear that sitting on a radiator would make your insides explode, melt your trousers, or cause mysterious leg problems. No one quite knew why, but every parent said it with such confidence that you believed it. The irony is that radiators back then barely worked. Half the time they were lukewarm, but parents treated them like ticking bombs of danger. Number 9. Leaving lights on. "Do you think we're made of money?" was practically the soundtrack of British childhood. Every dad in Britain had an obsession with light switches. You could barely leave a room before hearing, "Turn that light off." Electricity wasn't exactly cheap, but it wasn't ruinous either. Still, the idea of wasting a few pennies worth of power was treated like a national emergency. If one 40-watt bulb glowed longer than necessary, you'd be getting a lecture on the cost of living before you'd even finished your tea. Even now, grown-up British kids instinctively switch lights off when they leave a room, proof that the rule worked a little too well. Number 8. Going outside with wet hair. Every mum in Britain genuinely believed that stepping outside with wet hair would result in instant pneumonia. You could be running late for school, hair still damp from a rushed wash, and Mum would block the doorway. "You're not going out like that. You'll catch your death." It didn't matter if it was a warm July morning. Somehow, wet hair and fresh air equaled certain illness. Never mind that the science didn't support it. If Mum said it, it was gospel truth. To this day, some of us still feel faintly guilty going out after a shower, as if we're defying a parental law of nature. Number 7. Answering back. Perhaps the most sacred rule of all: don't answer back. You could be entirely innocent, you could have witnesses and a signed affidavit proving your case. It didn't matter. If a parent said something, your only acceptable response was silence, or a meek, "Yes, Mum." Anything else, even a muttered, "I didn't do it," was classed as backchat, punishable by the way look, or, if you were really unlucky, the wooden spoon. In modern parenting, children are encouraged to express themselves. Back then, you expressed yourself by quietly tidying your room before anyone got cross. Number 6. Whistling indoors. This one baffled every child. Why was whistling in the house forbidden? "Don't whistle indoors, it's bad luck," parents would warn, usually while cooking or ironing. No one could ever explain where this superstition came from. Some said it attracted the devil, others claimed it made bread sink in the oven. Whatever the reason, whistling was treated like swearing. Cheerful, harmless, and absolutely off limits. Ironically, the same parents would whistle along to the radio 5 minutes later. But somehow, when you did it, it was chaos. Number 5. Sitting too close to the televisions were the pride of every British living room, but also surrounded by warnings. "Don't sit too close to the telly, you'll ruin your eyes." Parents said it with such certainty, you imagined the screen firing invisible rays directly into your skull. Kids would lie on the carpet, inches from the fuzzy picture, until the inevitable shout, "Back up from that set before you go blind." Of course, the real danger wasn't radiation, it was blocking Dad's view of the football. But as kids, we believed we were one episode of Blue Peter away from permanent eye damage. Number 4. Using the best room or furniture. Every home had a best room. The pristine lounge reserved for guests, Christmas, and absolutely nothing else. It usually contained the good sofa, the nice carpet, and the china ornaments you were forbidden to touch. If you so much as stepped onto the floral carpet, you'd hear, "Out, that room's for company." It was the British version of a museum. Everything spotless, perfectly arranged, and entirely unused. Many families had best towels, best crockery, even best biscuits hidden in a tin somewhere. Looking back, it seems funny that entire rooms were off limits in our own homes, but it gave every visit from relatives the sense of a royal occasion. Number 3. Playing with the front door. Open. Another one of those mysterious safety rules. The front door had to stay shut at all times. If you left it open to let some air in, you'd be met with, "Shut that door, you're letting the heat out." During winter, this was understandable. But even in summer, the idea of leaving the door ajar felt rebellious. The draft was treated like an invading army. Invisible, powerful, and utterly intolerable. British parents had a sixth sense for drafts. They could detect one from 3 rooms away, then demand you close every window as if the North Pole itself was trying to break in. Number 2. Putting elbows on the table. This rule dates back centuries, but mid-20th century British parents treated it like a matter of national pride. You could eat with your hands, you could slurp soup, but heaven forbid your elbows touch that tablecloth. Get those elbows off. You weren't brought up in a barn. It wasn't really about manners, it was about discipline and presentation. Meals were sacred family time and posture mattered. Even fish fingers and mash deserved good etiquette. The habit became so ingrained that most of us still sit bolt upright at dinner parties, terrified of ghostly parental voices correcting our posture. Number 1. Saying, "I'm bored." Of all the rules, this one carried the biggest risk. The moment you said, "Mum, I'm bored," you knew what was coming next, a list of chores. Bored, are you? You can peel the potatoes then. Within seconds, you'd find yourself dusting, hoovering, or hanging laundry. British parents had no sympathy for boredom. In their eyes, it was a sign of laziness and ungratefulness. Kids today have tablets and streaming. We had an endless supply of character-building tasks. And honestly, it probably did build character. We just didn't appreciate it at the time. Why parents were so strict. Looking back, it's easy to laugh at how overprotective or illogical those rules were, but they came from a genuine place of care. Our parents and grandparents grew up in a world of scarcity, post-war rationing, and thrift. They'd seen hard times and knew the value of structure, respect, and economy. When they told us not to waste electricity or food, it wasn't just nagging, it was survival instinct. When they enforced manners, it was about dignity. When they banned us from silly things, it was their way of keeping order in a chaotic world. And as much as we rolled our eyes at the time, those rules gave childhood a rhythm, a sense of security and belonging. Why we miss it now. In today's world of endless choice and digital noise, those old parental bans almost feel comforting. There was clarity. You knew what was right, what was wrong, and who was in charge. The discipline might have seemed over the top, but it gave us respect. For people, for possessions, for the home itself. Maybe that's why so many of us still carry those little habits. We switch off lights, close doors, and feel a twinge of guilt for leaving wet towels on the bed. Somewhere inside, those parental voices are still there, keeping us in line, and, in a funny way, keeping us connected to where we came from. So those were 10 innocent things British parents strictly forbade, from radiators to boredom, from elbows to electricity. They might sound silly now, but they were part of what made growing up in mid-century Britain unique. A mix of warmth, discipline, and everyday wisdom. If you remember any of these rules, or have your own family bans that still make you laugh, share them in the comments. And if this little trip down memory lane made you smile, give the video a like, subscribe for more nostalgic stories, and let's keep Britain's memories alive, one rule at a time.